to your co-host, Dervin with Cinnamon Sound.
Your other co-host Tony, and we have an amazing guest today, Ceata E Lash. How's it going, Ceata?
That's going absolutely fabulous. How are you all?
We're doing
Doing
great.
very well.
Awesome.
Absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Very exciting.
All right. So there was an article I recently read, where I think this was released last year, where you talked about, planning a journey of getting your business to $25 million valuation within the next couple of years. But before getting to that journey and, how that's going to become a reality, we'd love to know a little bit, before the story, before the company, how did this entrepreneurial inventor, the mindset come from as a child? Or did it spark later on in life?
I'm gonna say it came from childhood. Both of my parents were small business owners. I don't consider them necessarily entrepreneurs because I think Black people didn't know what being an entrepreneur, what that
Mm-hmm.
means. And it was just like you worked for yourself and then you died while you were working, not
Mm.
necessarily that you were trying to lead a successful business. Um,
Or
you
leave a
just
legacy.
didn't leave a legacy or, actually, and even a successful business because a lot of us did not have the foundations and the know-how to know what it means to lead a successful business. You just ran the business or the business ran you, you know?
Mm.
So I would see people, my mother had an ice cream store, my dad was a CPA tax accountant. So I love the fact that did not, they were their own boss and they had people that worked for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say neither one led a successful business because there was no, okay, I see the fruits of my labor. I'm either going to sell it or let somebody take it over so I can sit back and reap the rewards. There was none of
Mm-hmm.
that. There was just, hope I'm going to be able to make payroll next week. That was my dad. I think I should have made a t-shirt for my dad because that's what he would always be like. Hope I'm gonna make payroll next week. So I didn't know what um, I didn't know what entrepreneurial success was. I didn't have a picture of that, and it stopped me because I have a tendency to ramble. So like,
Oh, we
please,
want people to talk, so go.
okay,
Share the lessons. Share the lessons.
yeah, a
Share the
squirrel
pizza.
might come through, and we'll be talking about something totally off topic. But anyway, um, so as as a teen tween, I always did like I was kind of an entrepreneur where I did t-shirts. I would paint graphics for businesses like their logos and stuff on their windows. I was always an artist at heart, but I never thought that would be a business because, you know, according to Black parents, you don't eat when you're an artist. How you gonna feed yourself? How you gonna take care of yourself? All of that's,
You know what's so funny? Because I wanted to be a chef, and my grandmother's very traditional. She was like, "That's not a real job, so you're gonna have to figure something out." I was like, "Damn!" But
right.
today,
Damn,
you can make
damn.
you
Just
can make
killed
so
my
much.
dreams.
Yeah, but you can make so much money as a chef. But you know what it is? I think back in the days, how we've been brought up and what we see. If you're not a lawyer, you're not a doctor, you're not a or
Business.
those two things, business
Mm-hmm.
something, you're not doing a successful career. And I think that we need to change that mindset because you can be creative and be super successful, live a very fulfilling life or career. So
Right.
I think we need to
Right.
change that narrative.
I'm trying. I mean, I honestly am one of those that because I feel like I got some years on y'all. So this is one of those Black culture things, and I don't care if you're from the Caribbean or if you're brought over here on a boat.
Hmm.
It's the same thing. You got to be a doctor, or you have to have those letters after your name, whatever they are,
Hmm.
in order to be considered successful. But for me, and I bought into that, but my parents weren't. My mom didn't go to college. My dad did go to college, but it wasn't one of those things of they had that open thinking to say you can just go be whatever you want to be and just be the best at it. It was you got to support yourself. So even when I went to college, I went in as a business major and failed every course that came my way. And I was like, if I have to take stats and calculus and all of that, I was like, I'm never going to make it. And I'll be damned if I have to go back home. So I got to change this up so I can stay in school. So I changed my major from business to visual communications without telling my parents. And I was just like, this is what I'm going to do. Visual communication is basically a fancy word for graphic design. And it all worked
Yes.
out. It all panned out. So that's what I was supposed to do. And that actually played a big part in what I was able to do in terms of building Puff Cuff.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I did see on LinkedIn that you worked in the graphic design space for a few years. And I wanted to know, like, how did that help with the transition of developing Puff Cuff? Did you create your own design of your logo? Like, was all the graphics or something that you were kind of doing would kind of help get the thing off the ground? Because you can conceptualize your own ideas. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so that what you said is exactly it. I graduated from the design school in 1995. So and I was in Chicago, which was like, second to New York was Chicago in terms of the art world. So I happened to be in the right place at the right time with the right people to massage my design skills. So and then also at that time I was one of the first and few Black girls who graduated from graphic design school. So it was I had the skill and I was, a little bit of a unicorn. So people were
Mm-hmm.
interested. And then I think I could talk a lot. So I probably, appealed to them letting me have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So my design skills took me, I worked 2 years full time and figured out, what, I'd rather freelance than deal with the whole corporate
Ladder.
shenanigans and all of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. Realized I work better by myself and I don't like to deal with the ego tripping and the gossip and all that can come with, and the backbiting and the crabs in a barrel, all of that can come with corporate life.
Mm-hmm.
So I just freelanced and I found my niche in the education field. So I freelanced in marketing departments of different colleges and universities or junior colleges. So when
Mm-hmm.
I came up with the idea of Puff Cuff, I happened to be working at a junior college at the time, actually freelancing for the woman who I got my first job from out of college.
Mm-hmm.
But this was, many years later, almost like 9, 10 years later. And because I came up with the idea at that time, I had access to all of the resources that a junior college had. So whether it was the SBDC, it was engineering professors, all of that, I was able to, because of my skill, I was able to create a 2D version of what I thought the Puff Cuff would be. And then I could network with the other professors there because they're adjunct. That means they are, professionals by day, professors at night. So I could work with them to try and get it off of paper into an actually working prototype. And that's basically what happened.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, and in terms of the branding and everything, all of that originally came from me. All the logo, everything, I did all by myself. I didn't build the website, but I knew what I wanted it to look like. So I would build landing pages in Photoshop and then hand it off to a developer and be like, okay, make it look like this.
Awesome.
So,
So essentially, the product design, framing, and things of those sorts, you
mm-hmm,
took ownership of that. That's awesome.
mm-hmm, yep.
What would you say was, I guess, before I let me provide some context before asking this question. So, just from doing some research and reading up on articles from an entrepreneurship perspective, interesting enough, in the pandemic, these past 2 years, there's been a 30% increase in Black-owned businesses, specifically because of women entrepreneurs. But prior to the pandemic, researchers in a specific article out of Fortune, which is interesting, said that Black women received less than 1% of VC support in the U.S. When it comes to like raising money or maybe enticing investors, what are some of the obstacles that you faced, I guess, with the amount of time that you've had to grow the business to this point and with the goals that you have to expand even further?
Main obstacle is I was born with ovaries, and the skin is the color that it is. My skin is the color that it is.
That is such an epic response. I love it. I'm sorry, I just had to put my head down for a second. I was like, oh my God. I love it.
It seriously, it is what it is. And it took me going to a cohort that was given by Cornell, that was for women in entrepreneurship, for them to be like, yes, you're getting a no because you are a woman. It's not because you don't have the qualifications. It's not because you look fugly or anything. It's literally, and you may look great on paper, but it's literally because 70-year-old white men run the world in terms of, when it comes to equity, financing, all of that. Or you've got younger people that don't look like you, that are totally think that tech is the only thing that deserves money being thrown at it. So it was one of those, okay, go in eyes wide open. No, you're not crazy. It is you. It is you. And if you're a Black female, it's even harder. So, like, for instance, we had been in the Black. We've been in business 9 years now. For the first 7 of those years, I'll say for the first 6 of those years, we were always in the Black, and we were growing at a rate of like 75%. And we would go into a bank because at that time, you don't know what you don't know. And you think, you got a business, you're making a profit, you're in the Black, you've got a proven market, you should be able to present, your business plan, and they should be like, how much do you need? But that's not the case. The case was, I'm talking to again, 70-year-old white man, trying to have him understand that my product actually makes him the minority. There are more people that can use my product that are of curly, that have curly hair, and he's still trying to figure out, I don't even understand the need for it. So it's like speaking a foreign language to somebody that they just can't get it, but they are the gatekeepers. So it would be that I would get the responses, wow, we haven't seen a business plan look this good in years, and all your numbers look great, and everything seems to line up, but don't you have like an uncle or somebody you can borrow 100,000 from, or doesn't somebody own some collateral that you could, put up? It's like, first of all, if that was the case, why would I be here? And let's take a lesson down, critical race theory. There's a reason why Black people don't have collateral, because you wouldn't let us own anything or if we did own something that was of value, you took it, or there is a reason why we've been kept out purposely. And then you want to say, okay, anybody can start a business, but you're basing everything on real estate or some type of physical property for collateral in order to borrow against. But if you locked out a whole race of people from owning property, where does that leave us?
Yeah. And what's funny too, there's an article that was saying, I didn't read the full article, but it talked about during this whole like housing buying frenzy, the black minorities were the ones that weren't really getting access to those homes as much as every
don't
other
say weren't.
group.
Don't say weren't really. Let's just make it plain. Let's just, make it plain.
So,
It wasn't like they were like
Like I said,
maybe, maybe not.
so
I didn't read the
from a
article.
historical
I didn't read the article, so I'm misremembering what I saw. But I do
so
agree
from a
with you.
historical perspective, essentially the initiative was called redlining.
Yep.
Specifically here in the U.S., and it's exactly what it sounds like. A map was laid out, and unfortunately, a group of men, took green markers and red markers and marked red around neighborhoods that I guess you would consider to have become ghettos or not have the best infrastructure today, and green lined the other ones, and that all contributed to like having access to buy homes, build equity.
It's so deep. It's so
It's
deep.
like the underlying foundation to the wealth gap in the United States.
Let me pull up this book that and I don't want to miss say the title because it was such an eye opener. And the thing is, I've read this, being on this journey has made me dive more into our history just to find out the reasons why, because of course none of us are taught the real story. Like I tell people that I remember in grade school, I thought Frederick Douglass was a bad guy. All the
I think I know which book you're thinking.
guys.
I think I know which book you're thinking of. Durbin, what's the book that Grace recently read? The
Lies My Teacher Told Me.
No, not that book, but that sounds like it needs to be added to my.
Yeah, that's a really good book. You should check that one out.
Oh my gosh, it is. I want to say it's not The History of the Black Dollar. It's another one. Hold on, it's on my Audible because I have dyslexia, so I don't read. I listen. Oh, where is it? Oh, White Fragility was one of them. Oh my goodness. White Fragility was so good. And oh gosh, I'm going to remember it before it's over, but it basically tells you what, even if there were happened to be black people that owned property that was later deemed of value, how that they would, okay, we're going to decide to just put a highway through that neighborhood, in order to cut them off from any other resources that would be able to make them, be able to
Isn't
make
that what happened in Chicago?
More valuable. Oh, it has happened in Chicago. So many cities. It's happened in a lot of places. Yes. Yeah. The color of law. That's what it is. The color of law. The color of law. And it's so interesting because it talks about the city of Ferguson. And city of Ferguson was one of the first black communities that they allowed black people to come and buy housing in. And actually, it was where my parents bought their first house, was in Ferguson. Oh, wow. And the same time, where did Michael Brown get killed? Or Michael Green? In the city of Ferguson. Yeah. It's like, you know what? This is not happenstance. This was put in motion years and years and years ago. So it's like, okay, and if we were not the people that were in control, if that's a homogeneous, group of people that don't look like you, then how can it be that it's happenstance? All this was on purpose. So I really believe when you say with the pandemic and all of that, I'll speed it up to say, I didn't get any money until all those black people were killed on camera last year and the year before. That's what, and the pandemic. Don't get it twisted. There is so much more opportunity because there's so many people that can record what's been happening and put it in front of everyone's face across the globe. And how can you not sit back and say, you know what, I think we caused this issue. We need to widen we need to rectify it. We need to close the gap. And let's sit back and look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie, period. So if you've got if you got all these people that fit this certain criteria, if it's Black women, why would you not offer them opportunities that have never been there before? But excuse me, it's Black people as a whole, but Black women are the flavor of the pandemic, basically. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna take advantage of it because never
take
would give me
advantage.
any money before. You never would. Like, we didn't get it until Uncle Joe and Aunt Cam was like, you know what? We see the value of what you do. You're keeping people employed, so let's help you through this pandemic. Other than that, and plus we were able to get some not venture capital money, but we've been able to get loans from venture funds that were created specifically to lend to black, brown, and female, entrepreneurs. So yeah, a lot has come from that. Those doors were not
I
available
have some
before.
I have some concerns about those.
Tell me.
So something about I guess the lending system feels predatory to me.
It is.
But like, so I was doing tons of research, after, I'm big on history, but after, the George Floyd situation and things of those sorts, like being in big tech, I got, exposed to a lot more ways to source through data and identify and analyze data, just gaining that experience. And I found some studies that showed that in 2020, right, African Americans, or I guess Black folks in the U.S., their spending power rose to $1.6 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
That's 9% of the nation's total buying power. We got $1.6 trillion.
The thing is, we spend more than we make.
Imagine if a small percentage of that.
True.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going. But the thing is that we don't have, it takes effort. Like right after, I believe it was George Floyd. I can't remember exactly, but I gave the challenge. No, it was before that. It was prior to that. I had given the challenge just to my followers to say, I want you to take $100 for one day. You have to spend that $100 in that day, but see if you can spend that every single cent of that $100 with a Black business. And you have to do it. You cannot do it all with one Black business. You have to go about your normal, habits and see if you can spend that $100 at only Black businesses.
No, it's funny. Killer Mike did that on a Netflix show, I think.
Right, he did it too. But he
And
got the idea from me.
Yeah, but then he had to walk. He had to walk like miles because he couldn't take a bus.
It is.
I was like, damn, bro, that's hard.
It's hard. It's hard. It is so hard. And that's the thing. If we purposefully did it, we can do it in some aspects of our lives and some of our natural habits and stuff, but you cannot do it in every single. I cannot go to a gas station and fill up my car, which is probably going to cost about $100 now for one fill up, at a Black gas station, unless I go all the way across, and find one in Atlanta. And that's the thing. It's like the internet has opened us up to be able to do that. Like, I'm planning my birthday party. I'm turning 50, and this is my year to turn 50. So
you look great.
Just thank you very much. Great. Thank you.
Completely surprising.
I was like, what? But you look great. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. It's in the, black don't crack, it's in the water. But anyway, I'm purposely using my birthday party as an example. So I have a Black DJ. I have a Black caterer.
Ooh.
I have a Latino photographer and videographer. What else? I have a Black comedian. My guys are being outfitted from Africa, from Gambia. So it's like things like this. Of course, I'll have a Black makeup artist. My girl. We got effects. Look.
That is so funny. This is the first time we used that. That's hilarious. But you know what? That's a new challenge. I'm going to do that for my birthday. Everything that I consume and do will be Black for my
will be
birthday.
black. All right. But
Yeah, my
I can
clothes,
say
everything.
everything. And that I wanted to wear because I know the twins that make the hats with the red rim with the what is
Hmm.
it? St. James or whatever. I personally know them. They're in the same incubator, whatever that I'm in. And I was gonna wear their hats, but they having supply chain issues, so they don't have the color I want right now. But anyway, but if you purposefully do that, then other people see it's real. You can do it. If I can do it,
Yeah.
you can do it. Even if it's down to, you know,
It's
the
just that conscious
right. It's just
choice.
that conscious choice. But because we don't own businesses, like other races, that it's just, I can go walk down the street and find it. But if you try, we are out there. And the more
Mm.
you build your network, the more you will find those people. Like I literally, the first place that I went to, the first venue, I told them, and I think a lot of us are like still asking permission to do stuff. And it's like, no, I'm spending my money. So I'm only going to use your venue if you got a black caterer. I want a black baker. I want a black, and if you don't have it, shame on you. Guess you get one next time, but be bold and
Hmm.
purposeful in how you spend your money. It's your money. So,
I like that.
Conscious of that, businesses pay attention,
hmm
and the tokenism sometimes is very obvious, but
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
there's a lot of power in the black dollar. Are you familiar by any chance with Dr. Claude Anderson?
I don't know names, but I know faces. Let me ask the Google right quick. But go ahead.
So, I read an interesting book from Claude Anderson. He it's called Power Nomics.
Okay.
And one thing, and it's essentially like group economics, but specifically tailored to like the Black community. And one thing I thought was really interesting, a point that he makes is that one of the cons to, I guess, post segregation was that
We lost
the
our neighborhood.
emphasis
Right.
on ownership. Yeah,
Mhm.
like we had to have our own
Doctors,
buses,
our
our
own grocery
own
stores, our
cars.
own. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and we lost that a bit. Um, I think because you have to make that conscious choice of, all right, I'm only going to spend my money here. I think if more folks were just educated, like on the number, like if more folks knew that our community spent $1.6 trillion last year, just a little bit more emphasis on supporting a fellow person in the community would go a long way. I think it's the education piece that's hurting us there.
It's the education piece and its location. Like to tell you, because we came from the north. We came from right outside of Chicago. When we moved to Atlanta, I thought I had died and gone to heaven. Now, people talk about it being Black Mecca. It it is Black Mecca. I didn't know. Like my son at that time needed to go see a physical therapist because he had called Osgood Schlagers or whatever. It's when your kneecap you're just growing too fast and your bones aren't keeping up. Anyway, had to go find a what do you call it?
Physical
Orthopedist,
therapist.
physical
Okay.
therapist, right? With the orthopedist. So we went. I found somebody and went to the office. I knew the doctor was a white female, but I had no idea about the staff. So when we went to the doctor's office, there literally was three black male nurses in the office. I had never experienced that in my life. And I sat back, I sat back and I was staring at them. And I know I got to the point where I was making them uncomfortable, but I had to tell them, I was like, look, I'm a grown woman, but I have never seen three black male nurses. Nobody's an orderly. Nobody's grabbing the food. Nobody's the transportation person. You all, it's like I've never experienced this in my life. And this is amazing. Like now I can say that my kid's principal is black. I can say that my chiropractor is black. My let's see who else. All of my lawyers are black. And it's just like, wow.
That's amazing.
And it
That's
feels
amazing.
so good. Not that I'm taking anything away from the other individuals of other ethnicities that are in those same professions, but you just don't have that opportunity, especially coming from the north. It's like non-existent. And when you come down here, it's like it's real. So
Wow, that's awesome, man. I do understand exactly what you're talking about. Like, I know in New York there's a push to get more black male teachers because there aren't a lot of them. And getting that representation is so important for kids as they develop and they dream big. So I completely understand how that hit home for you. But just bringing it back quickly to Puff Cuff, when you were trying to get that loan and the loan person mentioned that, is there really a need for this? How did you know that there was a need? Because you've proven that there's a need because you're so successful. And I guess the other thing, and I could repeat this question later on because I know I'm asking like two different questions, but the other thing is that you mentioned that they said that they've never seen such a great business plan before. And I feel that when it comes to Black folks, when we present anything, we need to have our T's, we need to be super qualified to the nines. So my thought process is like, what the hell are you guys seeing then if it's not of this caliber?
and my thing is, if it's not of this caliber, how are they getting money?
Yeah.
But again, we can't get it twisted. It is what it is, you know? I didn't get my first significant, let's say, loan until I had my husband step in and be the front man.
Oh, in
And it,
2017.
yes. So then it was like, and even then it was only 50 grand. And I say, if it, I shouldn't say only, but at that time I thought it was big money. Now, what I know, since I've been through so many classes and cohorts and incubators and accelerators and blah, 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 now I know what it's going to take for me to get to what amount of money is going to take for me to get to that evaluation, because it takes
Mm,
money to make money. A lot of these big beauty brands that are really like clocking dollars, they got some serious venture capital money.
mm,
But the person who really opened the door for all that was Richelieu Dennis with Shea Moisture and being sold to Unilever. And what, don't know how much he got, but he was purposely like, okay, I'm going to sell the company, but I'm putting this money back into the community purposefully. And I'm going to be in those rooms where my people, I'm going to be the voice for them in those rooms that they cannot be in and get them, even if it's my money that can't help them. I know somebody who is willing to, on my word, help them. So it's going to take more of that. It's going to take more of that. And that's truly my goal, is to be one of those people that can be the conduit or the connector between people who have done it, because we're doing this on our credit, on our 401ks, all that you
yeah.
can, your, God forbid, mortgaging your house, which for us, most of us were probably the first ones to own a house. So that's not the thing you're going to be putting up to get collateral off of, but people of other ethnicities do it all the time and keep on doing it. So it's one of those things. It's just, it is learning the culture of bigger business, not big business, but bigger business, if that makes sense.
But must be so like powerful and gratifying to know that you own 100% of your company from this article I read last year, unless things have changed.
No, I still own 100%. It's interesting. Even that was a little, what do you call it? I felt some kind of way before, because no venture capitalists were coming to me to offer me money
Take a
and get
pie,
a
piece
piece
of the
of
pie.
take a piece of the pie.
I'll
And
take a
I was
piece of the
like,
pie if I
right.
can invest. Let me know. I'll take a 0.01%. I'll take
Uh,
0.001%. Let me get a piece. I'm ready.
and see, that was the thing. I was like, what is it that we're not doing? But then it's I had to figure it out, that it wasn't anything that I was doing, but at least I had to lean on, okay, the Lord will do it in his time. It will happen in the right time. If I had done it back then I would have probably, it would have been easier to keep on giving away portions of my business in order to, think to get to the next stage. I know a couple people who they own less than 20% of their business. And it's like,
Damn.
I would be scared. I mean, not own less than, they own like 80% of their business. So, but even then it's like, okay, owning 80 versus owning 90, that's a significant difference if you're having or if you have somebody that you're trying to sell the business to. Like, I don't know with Richelieu if he had, and you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, I don't know how much of the business he owned before he sold, but
you're talking about the Shea Butter,
Shea Moisture,
right?
Yes,
Shea Moisture, yes. Okay.
Shea Moisture, who now owns Essence, who is just, I mean, who now owns, what is it, Madam C.J. Walker's mansion. I mean, he went and he was like, I'm about to scrape up everything. All the stuff that was stolen or taken, I'm about to take it back. So, owning 100% of your business now, I feel like I'm in an even better spot now if I were to give up a percentage. But then I have my intellectual property and I have my trademarks. I have all of that to make it a package. But it took somebody to teach me that adds to your valuation. Don't take that stuff for granted. Not everybody has a patent to sell. I mean, not to sell, but
3 patents.
Yeah.
Don't downplay.
Three with a fourth pending.
With a fourth pending. Can you talk about, before we talk about the patents, can you talk about why you thought there was a need for the product when it first came out? And
because I needed it.
That's good enough. Easy. And what was the thought process behind getting the patents? Was it to protect your idea? Like, can you talk to us about the patent? Because I don't feel a lot of people do that route.
Okay, so this is the puff cuff. It's basically a hair clamp. Can you see it? Or maybe it's been better if I do it like that.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So we have 5 different sizes. This is like right in the middle. So the way it works differently is it holds the gathered hair rather than cinching the gathered hair. So that's why it replaces rubber bands, because rubber bands in essence were invented to give thin strands bulk, like fiber optics. You got you have the rubber casing that holds all of these thin strands together to give them bulk. Well, people with curl and texture, we already have bulk, so we don't need anything cinching it down. We just need something to hold it in place. So that's the difference. So when I first came up with the idea, like I said, I was working at the community college, and I had access to different engineers and people in the marketing department that I worked with. They were like, well, I know this engineer, I know that, let's go talk to him and see what he thinks or whatever. And I would have these white guys, in their mid 40s say, that's genius. You need to protect yourself. That you got something there. You need to protect yourself. I truly thought that this was just going to be my side hustle on the weekends. I was just going to, throw up a table at different, hair shows or whatever and sell it and just have extra money in my pocket. I never thought it was going to be the business that it is. So it literally was being around the right people and having my ears open to receive. And you tell me something to do, I'm going to do it. If you, especially if I have in my gut that this person is coming from a place of good, then I'm going to follow the advice. So, and that's what I did. And again, it was within my network that I was connected to a fabulous patent attorney who's still my patent attorney to this day, that wasn't interested in emptying out my pockets. He was
I was
just
going to
like,
ask, what about the cost? Is it super expensive
It is for
traditionally?
those that you don't know, that it is for those if you don't know the right patent attorney. But
Mm,
my patents cost next to nothing compared to how much I had to spend to defend, to protect my patent. So
yeah.
the patents itself for me, but this has been a while ago, but I would say on average between 5 and 6 thousand. So
And that might be difficult for someone that is trying to launch a business to like just, I'm going to protect an idea that I don't know if it's going to work. So I guess that might have been a potential risk. Did you think it was a risk, or you knew that this was going to be success?
no, I didn't think it was. I didn't. And when you let me make sure I understand the question. Was it a risk to get it patented or to not get it patented? What
Do
did,
you feel that when you were like thinking, I think $5,000 to $6,000 is pretty expensive when you're trying to launch a business. I don't know what stage you got your patents, but as you were thinking of getting the patent to protect your idea, did you think it was a risk because you weren't sure
I
if it was going to be successful, or you had a feeling that this was going to work?
I had a feeling it was going to work, but I didn't launch the business until I got my first patent. I got the patent,
Mm.
then I launched. I applied for the patent, so I was already patent pending.
Hmm.
And I didn't, that provisional patent is a bunch of crap. All the people, I see people say, oh, I've got a provisional patent, and now you got a piece of paper. You might as well just go, you can burn it. And a provisional patent is nothing. Um, so I launched, I was in the state where I was in the space where I was first to, I forget what the stage is called, but it was like I was the first one to attempt to get the patent. So nobody could come behind me and say, oh, well, I tried to patent that first. So because I was first to do that, I was in a better position. So then I got my design patent. I was already in the process with the patent and trademark office when I launched the business. So I launched in 2014. I actually got my patent in 2017.
Okay.
It was
And
actually published.
how long is your patent for? Because I know certain industries patents only last for X amount of time. So how long is your idea somewhat protected for?
So I have a design patent and a utility patent, and my design patent actually expires in I believe in I have 7 more years. That's
Okay.
why my goal is to sell within 6. The
Smart.
pandemic kind of changed all of that, my timing, but within the next 5 to 6 years is when I want to sell. But my having a patent doesn't it doesn't really protect you from it protects you what it protects you from is anybody outside the United States trying to import your idea and sell it to anyone in the United States. It does
Mm,
not protect you the other way around.
got it. Okay.
So in order to protect yourself the other way around, you have to get foreign patents, and you have to get patents in every single country in order for it to really be protected. That I could not afford. But I could afford, and you only have a certain window of time that you can do this. So once your patent is granted, you only have like a year or 2 years that you can apply for foreign protection. And even then, you have to apply for it in every single country that you plan to sell in. Well,
Mm,
the West is, everyone wants to get their products here than the other way around. So I'm protected from that in a sense, but I still like we've been knocked off and fighting that. It was coming in from China through a Korean distributor, and it was I can tell you we spent $100,000 trying to protect the patent and we got a $13,000 settlement. And
wow.
you cannot and for patent protection you cannot have them they will not cover your attorney fees like in regular
Wow.
civil cases. So it
Wow.
got to the point where we had to stop, and that this distributor, there's only 2 major distributors of hair care products within the United States, and they're both Korean owned. And they got money for days, so they just turned the claim over to their insurance, and their insurance has a team of lawyers that just, steadily just hit you with bullshit appeals and bullshit this, that, and the other. And it's just racking up the money because they knew we couldn't afford to keep going. So
that sucks.
you have to build the brand. You have to build the face and you have to build the brand so your customers will be loyal to you and your brand. It's just like what Nike has done. Nike gets knocked off all over the place, but before they were who they were, it was all about the brand loyalty. So that's what we're trying to build.
Got it.
I've even found puff cuffs in the Philippines that's actually labeled puff cuff dupe in the same exact packaging and everything. And they're selling it in Brazil.
Wow.
So, what would you say? I guess for 2022 is to hit your, I guess, long-term business goals this year. What's imperative, like a must for you guys?
A must is we have to build back our new customer acquisition. The Apple iOS update shot all digital marketing to crap. That whole privacy update that came out, what it did is it made it so you cannot really effectively advertise on Facebook and Instagram anymore. And we were making big bank. And a lot of small businesses were making really good, really good revenue off of those ads because we could reach so many people that we were paying for it, but the reach was so great. So we were getting, 3x returns on $100,000 spend. Like that was easy. But when the privacy updates came, they made it so you can't track anybody. And then everybody's opting out of, if you're on an Apple phone, you get that little notice now. Do you want to allow this, website to track you? First of all,
or share data.
Right,
Others,
right. Who's going to allow anybody to track you? So everybody's opting out. Everybody's saying no. Well, what happens is that means that we don't know, small businesses can't track your habits. So we can't figure out, we now can't feed those people the ads based on, similar lifestyles or similar likes, similar habits or whatever. So that's been very, very bad for small business. It's hurt big business the same way, but they already have the brand recognition. Everybody knows about them. Like I was on a call, a women in retail leadership call a couple weeks ago, and the CMO of Savage and Fenty was on the call, and she's like, we're about to kick Facebook and Instagram to the curb. Well, yeah, you can because everybody knows we're not Rihanna, but everybody don't know Ceata and Puff Cuff. So it's a different situation. So it's opportunities like this to get in front of other audiences that have probably never heard of the Puff Cuff, and then they see it and they realize I need a Puff Cuff. So it's finding those other avenues that will allow us to reach those people who don't know about us.
That's interesting. I never thought of with what's going on. I call it the data wars between big tech. I never thought to think about what the implications of I guess privacy. On one hand, Apple and the App Store, and then apps that are on there like Facebook, and how that might impact small businesses versus the individual. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, because Facebook was piggybacking on all of Apple's technology on how to track and now the pixels and all of that stuff. So now Apple, I believe it all came from them wanting to separate themselves from the foolishness of the last election. And it's like Facebook really stepped on some big toes, I think. And Apple was like, you know what? We're going to take our ball and go home. And you see how you fend from there. But with that, it's really hurt business because we don't have the advertising reach like we used to.
Mhm. So I know you mentioned that you guys are potentially coming out with some men potential products or line.
Mhm.
Could you talk a little bit about what that may potentially look like for someone like us, if you can?
Well, actually, it's already out. It's called the Puff Cuff Mail, the PC Mail. The website is thepcmail.com. And basically, what we realized, we realized this early in the business, that this is not, Puff Cuff is a unisex tool. It's not specifically for women. When I created it, it was because I had the problem of not being able to find something that could hold my hair in place and not give me a blazing headache if my hair wasn't straight. And I stopped straightening my hair mainly because I went longer between relaxers, and all of my skin problems that I had been suffering from since an adolescent literally disappeared overnight. So it was like, I'm not going back to putting those chemicals on my skin anymore. The relief is too great, but I got to figure out what I'm going to do with this stuff growing out of my scalp that I have not seen since the age of 10. So with that, we also realized that guys are growing out their hair too. And
Yep.
and usually guys' hair is way better than females because you haven't destroyed it with all the chemicals and coloring and straightening and heat and all of that. So we had guys that were like, I want the puff cuff, but it's for girls. And it's like, no. So we can brand this in a way that you identify with and use it too. So we have the puff cuff male, and it is geared towards same thing: locks, braids, twists, natural curly hair, and then facial hair. So
I was just looking at the
I like
beard
the
products.
website. The
Like, this is
website looks.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
about to grow my hair back out, so I'm very,
And
very, very excited.
I designed that website. So you little
Oh, you
little
so
help from Shopify, but yeah, and all of those, everybody you see is either I think the guy that's on the homepage, is it a white guy with blonde hair on the homepage right now?
yeah, it's a white guy, but then there's some black men
Yeah.
in it as
All
well.
of those
Yeah.
are people that none of those are professional models. Like, that's a kid that I found at my chiropractor, and I was like, your hair is gorgeous. You have to model for us.
Gotcha. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it.
love the
Um,
brand ambassadors too. Really
I know that
nice.
you mentioned self-love, self-acceptance. I remember when I was at Facebook, our chief diversity officer was talking about, having natural hair, and that, in the more traditional sense, as you go into corporate America, like if you had natural hair, that, it wasn't looked upon as being professional or locks. Like you had to get your hair straight or pressed or stuff like that. So, um, what are your thoughts about that whole narrative completely changing now that where natural hair is being more accepted, and curly locks and all that stuff? Like, what are your thoughts about that whole movement?
I love it. And first of all, it keeps my family fed. So, because my husband is my co-CEO. So yes. So I love it. My thing is, I still think we have a long way to go,
Hmm.
because we still are the largest consumers of personal care product, and fake hair. We are the we If we stop buying hair, India and China would go would disappear.
Wow. Oh
And
man.
my thing is, because I mean, even that, and I found this out, and you guys will probably, this is another drop the mic moment. I found out, like, from doing research because of this business, that there was a bill that was passed years and years and years and years ago that outlawed human hair being harvested in the United States. It could only be harvested from the East, and it's still that way. So let me give you another little drop of knowledge. So when it comes from the East, where are all the beauty supply stores? In whose neighborhood?
In ours. In our
Wow.
neighborhoods.
But
It's just like
Where
the
can you
story
come and
was,
buy a whole bunch of real estate for probably less than $1 something a square foot? In whose neighborhoods? So
ouch.
you buy, they can come, and I'm not faulting them by any means, but
Yeah.
you have to think this is part of the whole financial ecosystem. This is purposeful. This is not by accident.
Yeah.
So if you say that human hair cannot be harvested in the United States, but what class of people have you convinced that their hair is not good enough?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then they can buy the real estate for next to nothing. Back in the 70s and 80s, when you did have Black people having their own uh, hair product companies, they bought all of those companies. Not only did they buy the companies, they brought all of their IP. They took all of that production, moved it off to the east, packaged it the same, but you don't know what the hell's in that bottle. Then they buy the distributorships. So they've got the real estate, they've got the distributorships, they've got the product, and they've got the hair. And they're feeding
Come
it
on, sir.
all back to
It's
people
a
that look like us because
it's a
society
beast of a
has
system.
convinced us that our hair is not good enough.
Okay.
It's a
Wow.
beast of a system. Oh man. When you put it like that, it's like
But see, that's the thing. It's
crazy.
like right there in front of us, but we don't think about it that way.
No.
And in the neighborhood I grew up in, the aside from the barbershops, some of the salons, the beauty supply stores, they weren't owned by people in our community, in our neighborhoods. And
Nope.
there's like on main avenues, there's probably a beauty supply every block.
Every block. And who owns it? And who's working there? Right. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's and then most beauty supplies that do, the next segment, seriously, you should talk to some Black beauty supply owners and see all the hell that they've gone through just to be able to get product into their stores because the Asians and Koreans own the distributorships. So they're only going to sell to people that are like them. And they'll
Mm.
tell you front face, we're not going to sell it to you. And it'll be some of the most popular brands that brown people are seeking. They're owned by Koreans or that mostly it's Koreans. And they just will not sell it to people of color because they don't have to.
That's crazy. But now I'm in your website, and like I mentioned, the website looks amazing for PCM. Can you tell us a little bit about the products and like what's in it? Why should we buy this versus something else? Like, just give us a quick education of the products quickly.
So the PCM products, are you talking about the consumables? And when I say like
Um,
the pomades, that
yeah, I see
stuff,
the pomades, I see the sprays, I see like a beard moisturizer, like
right?
yeah, those stuff.
Because okay, so I am in the tool business. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. But I knew I needed to find, I kept on having people and consultants that I was working with saying, you really need to have a consumable line. You really need to do shampoos and lotions, and moisturizers. And I really fought it for a long, long time. But they were like, basically, you've made the puff cuff. The puff cuff is not a throwaway item. So people people
Mm.
have a tendency not to come back to buy more puff
They keep
cuffs.
it forever, yes, they keep it
Right,
Yeah.
forever. So you need to
right.
get that. Yes,
Right.
get it.
We
Okay,
need to
makes
get the
sense.
average order value up in this and get customer lifetime value up. And I was like, well, I refuse. I made the puff cup because I durable and to last long because I got tired myself of buying stuff that was like one use and I had to throw it away. I had to keep on replenishing it. So the
Mhm.
consumables came from that. I'm nowhere gonna pretend that I'm a chemist, but I knew there were Black girl chemists out there.
Yeah.
So I went and found a Black girl chemist that has her own line of products that she formulates for, whoever. But I was like, I need a Black girl that understands that I want natural products, organic products, and that the kind of skin. Our skin is not like everybody else's skin. We need different, our skin and our hair has different needs. And I wanted somebody that understood that. So I went to her, and that's how we get our consumable line. So everything is created by a Black girl chemist.
That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
So the
And
consumables on the men's side and the female side are all created by her.
That's amazing.
so, when, and I guess this could apply to you and your team as well. But when you're, focused on the goal at hand, how do you, block out the noise? How do you, shuffle out negativity when you're dealing with scrutiny, like trying to overcome adversity? How do you like stay focused and kind of stay on track?
I put people in between me and them. There are people who, okay, I know I'm not a person that I have a short fuse. Not that I get angry, like crazy angry, but I'm a Taurus. I know
A Taurus too.
right.
April 22nd.
Hey, May 17th. So, there's only so much you can take. And I'm like, okay, my mouth will get me in trouble. And if I've built this thus far, this is like one of my kids. This is very intimate to me. And if you come after me with some foolishness, I'm really like, right, boo, let's come on, say that to me in the parking lot, hold my
Come
purse,
get this
right,
smoke.
right,
Come get this smoke.
Exactly. Well, that doesn't work well. and especially in the world that we live in, where you can be recorded, and so I had to learn that that's not my ministry. Customer service is not my ministry. I take it too personal. So, but that's my lifeblood, is nurturing and dealing with my customers and my fans. So I had to put people in between me and my customers that would be their ministry. That's their sweet spot. That's what they want to do, is make sure that everyone is happy. So they keep my fans happy, which in turn, makes Puff Cuff what it is, because I realize that Black women are the most fragile and can be the most mean people in the world. And when there is something that goes wrong, negativity is what people gravitate to. So it's almost like if something negative is said, it can snowball and mushroom like so quickly. And for me, my personality wasn't to play nice and try to damper it. Mine would be like, okay, well, let's roll, but I can't do that with running a business. So it was like, okay, I know that this is not my sweet spot, so let me put people in between that can do this way better than I can. And that's what my philosophy is with my whole team, is I know what my ministry is. I know what my lane is. And that's what keeps me focused, is my lane. And I'm here for everybody, but I hire people to do what they do best. And I support them in what they do best. Whatever you need, I will support you in it. And I don't want to micromanage, but that's the thing, is the team and the squad. And then once you get those few people that believe and are passionate about your passion, then it's golden. It's all she wrote from there.
Wow. I like that process. And how can people learn about the business, what you guys are doing, stay updated? Like, how can they follow your story? Like, what's the best way to get access to you?
Any of our social media, but I think from a product standpoint, it's social media. From a business standpoint, it's LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn, because we own 3 businesses. There's 3 businesses under this umbrella of Puff Cuff. The second business is Mind and Smalls, which is Negro from Minding Small Businesses. So we have our own fulfillment company. And what we did, we realized, we went through the ranks of going from the dining room table to a storage facility to, a small office, blah, 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 blah. But we realized that fulfillment isn't rocket science, but there's so many small businesses that are too big for their dining room table, but do not want to go into that 3PL. So we are that sweet spot of, we will handle fulfillment. We call ourselves a boutique fulfillment firm. So we only take so many clients, so we can make sure that we can pay close attention to everything, because you need somebody that you're not just a number, you're not just a small fish in a big pond, so of big fish. So we do that also. And then we have another business in-house too. So we're trying to make it kind of like our own ecosystem where we're self-sufficient, but also a resource for other small businesses and people that look like us.
It sounds like you're doing like that Amazon approach, because Amazon is so good with fulfillment, so they offer that as a service. They have their technology which you want to process millions and millions of orders. So I like that approach. If you have the secret sauce, why not like have people pay for it?
Exactly. My thing is, and we're really here, we don't want to become a giant 3PL. That's not our mission. It literally is just that springboard that people need, that niche between, okay, the HOA is about to report me because I got 10,000 boxes in my garage. And I don't want to go to the huge 3PL that can lose a pallet of my products and be like, well, we're sorry. So we're there to fill that niche until those businesses get so big that they outgrow us. We will get you to that spot, but the goal is for you to outgrow us.
Awesome. All right. I mean, thank you for such a great chat. I thought it was amazing. Thank you for the opportunity and wish you all the success. I hope you get that $25 million valuation next year, to be honest.
Thank you.
So wish you all the best with your endeavors.
I am just so honored to be here. I'm glad you found me, glad we could have the conversation, and hopefully, this will continue in one form or another, but you guys, what you're doing is awesome. I really appreciate it.
Don't forget our business idea. The three of us, we can do some good things. When you're ready, let's let us know. We can do some good things together.
Hey, it ain't nothing but a plane trip. Now that outside is open.
That's true.
There was something you mentioned, and before we hop off, I wanted to make sure I pointed out a little bit. You had mentioned that sometimes Black women can be some of them, or come across some of like the meanest people in the world. I feel that Black women might have had to be the most tolerant and resilient for a long time.
Yes.
And I think the world will change for the better when they no longer have to be.
And I don't want that to sound negative, but it is. My thing is, I'm going in eyes wide open. We can be the loudest, and I'm me speaking one of them as one of them. We can be the loudest, but once you have us in your pocket, in your corner, we are ride or die. So that's the thing. It's like, okay, I understand, and I understand where you're coming from, and I understand why. So let me nurture that for good.
I like that. Awesome. I mean, that's the great way to end that. I like that. That's a great way to end the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure having you.
Pleasure to be here.